desire is not the cause of sex, it's the result. And I called my husband in right away. I was like, see, I told you. I've been trying to explain it. And it's really hard for men to grasp that because they come about it from a completely different place. But for me personally.
Hey, Empowered Vegan Lifers, Ella here. And today we have a very special co-host. Stephanie was not able to make it, kind of last minute. So this is really exciting because there's so many opportunities here. We have got Tammy Greene with us. Tammy is one of our coaches at Vegan Life Coach Academy. She's also a relationship expert. She has her degree in child development. She's a certified vegan life coach. She's the founder of the blog and podcast, Married and Naked. And those of you who are planning to join or have joined already by the time this goes out, Vegan Life Coach Academy, you're going to get to know her very well. And it is such an honor to have you as a coach. It is an honor to have you here today with us, Tammy, as my co-host. So welcome and thank you for hopping on.
Thank you so much, Ella. I'm so excited to be here. It was a nice kind of last minute surprise, and I just feel honored to be here with you today.
Yes, so I am so excited, not only for our topic for today, which we're going to get to in a moment, but also because we are in the middle right now of open enrollment for Vegan Life Coach Academy, which will be closing its doors for this launch on Friday, July 31st at 11:59 p.m. So make sure to get in. We launch on Saturday with a huge opening celebration. We'll call it the opening ceremony. We're going to have a party is what it's going to be. Yeah. Because this is such an exciting opportunity. And I'm so excited also because this is so accessible to so many people. You know what I mean, Tammy?
It completely is. And I think that's one of the most exciting things is that how accessible it is and that it's not just, you've been working so hard at creating just an incredible membership for everybody. And it's not just a surface nutrition, exercise kind of membership. This is really delving into creating the life that you want to have for yourself, creating the mindset that you need to have in order to live out your dreams.
Yes. When we started creating this, you know what it all came down to is that we're not willing, as coaches, we're not willing to keep handing out more Band-Aids to people. And that's what a lot of these diets are and these intense workout routines that are unsustainable. Sure, we're going to talk about fitness. We're going to talk about nutrition. We're going to make sure you have all the information and the tools for that. But the information is the easy part. Why is it that there is so much information out there? I mean, an overwhelming amount of information. That's one of the things that I hear from people is not, I don't have enough information. It's, I have too much information. So we're going to whittle that down. But more importantly, we're teaching people how to love and respect themselves and make conscious and mindful choices from that place. Because when you do that, you guys, there's no willpower needed. It's, you take willpower out of the equation because willpower, as human beings, willpower will always run out eventually. And that's why we have these wagons, that we always talk about, people getting on the wagon, falling off the wagon, on and off that wagon, that whole yo-yo thing. And we want to get to a place, we want to help you get to a place where there are no more wagons to fall off of. That's what a lifestyle is. And we have there's a lot of reprogramming that a lot of us need to do to get to that space, these core beliefs. And I won't get into that because that's like a whole nother podcast episode. But yes, we're going to go at this from a new angle, a different angle. And Tammy, I'm so excited to have you on board because you bring so much knowledge and expertise and are able to help people apply also to relationships because relationships are so important. I think we ignore them when we go to work on ourselves. We're trying to work on ourselves while there's another person in our life. And that brings a whole nother level, a whole nother kind of a complication to it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm.
Definitely. I think that working on yourself is something it can't ignore with the people around you, right? Like that's just a part of something that it's a part of your life, the people around you. So when you're working on yourself, you're taking that into consideration all the time as well. So I think knowing that you have to kind of find that balance between how you're going to, I don't know where I'm all going.
Start wherever you want.
Sorry.
No, start wherever you want.
Okay, what did you say?
I said, okay, we're both, I know you're like going on a trip right now. This is throwing this together. I talked about, just that it makes it a little more complicated when you're working on yourself, when there's another person in your life. So you're kind of changing, and are they changing or not? They're going to see the change. I don't know how to explain that. Maybe you do.
Yeah, I think that working on yourself, you have to understand that there's other dynamics, and everybody has people in their life, whether it be spouses or boyfriends or brothers, sisters, all that, relationships are just a part of who we are. So it's not a part that we can really ignore while we are trying to develop the life that we want for ourselves.
Yes. So I'm so glad that you're going to be there to help people through that as well. And that kind of ties into our topic today. So I will get off of Vegan Life Coach Academy, even though that's like just at the top of my brain right now, but I can change gears because the next thing we're going to talk about is horny goat weed. So once we go there, then, it's totally cool. And okay, so here's the story, you guys. We were doing the burpees and greens challenge in June. And I was going on for Facebook Lives, drinking my green drink, making this, I have a special greens powder that I do every day. And one thing that I also put in that drink is a supplement called Horny Goat Weed. And I wasn't really anticipating sharing that, but I'm really pretty much an open book. You guys probably know that by now. So I'm on camera and I'm making my green drink, and I pull out the horny goat weed because that's part of my routine. And I was like, wait, I'll share this too. So yes, I put horny goat weed. What is horny goat weed? Well, it is a supplement that is supposed to increase your libido. And it literally came from goats. Apparently, goats happen to be eating this weed, and I don't know if the farmers noticed that they just started humping each other all over the place. And somehow they said, well, maybe that will work for humans too. And apparently it does. So when I showed people that, it was like, I don't know, it was like I had given them a huge piece of chocolate cake or something. They were like, I want some of that, and everybody, so many people said, where can I get that? What's that for? Oh my gosh, I've never heard of that. I want to increase my libido. And it was this wave, and I wasn't expecting it. And it really opened my eyes to how big of an issue that is, and how silenced it is, like how much we hide that, and how shameful that can be,
Yes, for sure. I think that that's one of the top questions that I get from women. I primarily work with women specifically, but I have men reach out to me too. They're asking, how do I increase my wife's libido? And the women ask me, how do I increase my own? So I'm not too surprised at the response that you got. We are sexual beings. Sex is a big part of our life and our existence, and we all want good sex lives. So how do we go about getting that? And how do we go about understanding these differences that we have?
Yes, I think you make such a good point. And it was women that were coming to me saying this, but I have personal experience. Yeah. And again, open book time. Sorry, babe. My boyfriend, Christian, he's the one who actually did the research and gifted me the horny goat weed. Oh, man. I mean, when he went vegan at the very beginning of our relationship, oh my gosh, you guys, it's like, I can't keep up with this. Oh my goodness. Like, wow. I mean, I'm active and fit and all of that, but this has nothing to do with that. Really, when it comes down to it, a lot of it has to do with desire. And it just seems that men have so much more desire than women. Is that the case?
Well, it is actually the case in that there's definite distinct differences between men and women, for sure. And the first thing I just want to say is that I think it's really important to note that having different desire levels than your partner is completely normal. And the most important thing to understand is just because your desire level is lower than your partner, it doesn't mean that anything's wrong with you. And I think that so often as women, and this I'm speaking from my own personal experience as well, we feel like because we can't keep up with our men, because we don't have the same desires, something's got to be wrong with us. And now sometimes it does come down to maybe there is something going on. So it's important to note, there's certain medical conditions, certain medications, birth control, things like that, that can lead to lower sex drive. Current shift in hormones, menopause, things like that can be culprits. So it's always, if you have a concern, it's really good to check with your doctor, of course. But however, for most of us, my guess is there's absolutely nothing wrong and we are completely normal. And I think as women, we have to kind of learn to love ourselves through that, accept that part about ourselves, and realize there's nothing wrong with us. We're just different, and that's okay.
Oh, thank you for saying that. Because it really is a load off. And I can only imagine how many listeners are thinking right now, oh, really? Like there's nothing wrong with me? Because that's what I believe too. I'm not an exception.
Yeah. And I have absolutely believed the same thing for years. And I've been married now for almost 22 years. And that issue has been at the forefront of our relationship for the majority. And me carrying that with me has been there for a very long time. And I think one of the issues that a lot of couples have is that the person in the relationship with the higher drive can really dominate that sex conversation. And it can often lead to women specifically, because that's who I speak to, them telling me they feel a lot of shame for their seemingly low desire levels. And they carry that feeling with them that something's wrong with them, and that just drives their desire even lower, right? It's really hard to get past those feelings of shame in order to find your way to feeling sexy and beautiful.
Absolutely. And shame is an issue we deal with a lot at Vegan Life Coach Academy. And oftentimes we don't actually, call it that to ourselves necessarily. Right. We don't even really realize that that's what's going on. But that happens a lot with really all aspects of our lives, from with women especially, our weight. I'm not skinny enough. I'm not thin enough. With how smart we think we are. It's I'm not blank enough. It's always I'm not enough. And this is just another one of those not enoughness. And so I'm glad we're talking about it, because this one I don't believe gets talked about very often. And thank goodness for your blog and your podcast, because it doesn't get talked about enough.
Right. And it is just so vital that we, us women, we come together. And I know that's being very general. Not all women are feeling what we feel, but the majority that I have spoken to are. So I think it is really important that we open up and share our experiences. And I know I was a not enough person, and specifically, I'm not sexual enough. I don't desire enough. And I've carried that with me for years. And it's only been recently that I've been able to really, my husband and I working together, to really shed a lot of that and to come to a place of understanding of each other. And I think that's one of the greatest gifts that we can give each other as a couple, and for ourselves. One of the greatest gifts we can give ourselves is to come from a place of understanding and accepting ourselves and our differences rather than judging them. Judgment can be incredibly harmful to our psyches. And of course, it's going to hurt our sex drives. So I think that's one of the biggest things that my husband and I have worked on, is really just understanding. We're different people. You're built differently than me. And instead of pointing fingers and judging each other for all those differences, to really find a foundation of acceptance. And then we can go from there. Does that make sense?
Oh, it makes so much sense, Tammy. First of all, could you hear all those blings?
I didn't hear anything.
Oh, good. Stephanie's like, Telegram messaging me, and it's popping up, and I don't know how to make it stop. And it said, the first one was, I'm old.
Oh, no. Poor
But I'm glad you couldn't hear it. Okay, good. Yes. Absolutely, Tammy. And along the same lines, and again, let me just be an open book here. Christian and I, we do see a therapist every once in a while, and it's not because we have a bad relationship. It's actually because we have something really good going on, and we want to keep it that way. And every time we get out of that office, we've got the most fantastic therapist who's also a sex therapist. We get closer. You know, we are able to communicate better, and sex is one of those issues that we've really been able to communicate about much better from speaking about it. What's one thing that Dr. Paz mentioned was about the differences in where desire comes from, where it like originates within women and men. And how different that is. Can you speak to that?
I mean, it's a very interesting question and thought, because science shows that men and women come from very different places biologically. And it's so funny. I was getting ready to do this podcast with you, so I was doing a little like extra research, just kind of freshening up on some of the things that we were going to talk about. And I read this statistic about women that I wanted to share with you, because it just was like, oh my gosh, I had to call my husband in right away. This is something I've been telling him forever. But it said in 2000 and 2002, a study they interviewed hundreds of women, and they reported feeling erotically neutral at the start of sex. Only when they started making love and enjoying it did they warm up and feel actual desire. So today, many sex therapists really accept the idea that for most women, desire is not the cause of sex, it's the result. And I called my husband in right away. I was like, see, I told you. I've been trying to explain it. And it's really hard for men to grasp that, because they come about it from a completely different place. But for me personally, it's always been like, once we get going, then I start to feel it. But what he longs for so much is for me to show that ahead of time. And that's very challenging for me. My desire doesn't work that way. And now learning that that is true for women in general felt very validating.
Yes.
Like, I knew this, but to see it in a study was like, oh my gosh, yes, of course.
Oh my gosh, Tammy, we have a lot in common, and apparently most women have a lot in common in that regard. And it's, wow, that's so validating.
Yes, it is. And see, that's what I mean, how we carry this with us, that something's wrong with us, but there's nothing wrong with us. We're just women, and we're different from men. And it's no wonder that sex is such a hot topic between couples, because we're at very different, sides of the game, trying to find a middle ground.
Yes, it's that whole, this brings us to like the initiation phase.
Yes.
And I know the conversations we've had, Christian and I, about that, and that does get heated a little bit. And I can see how that would be taken if I'm not doing the initiating, for him to see that as, something, there's something wrong with him. Right. To take that personally.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yes. That's so important to not just understand ourselves, but to really understand our men as well. Because, as women, we generally have to kind of feel loved and connected before we want to have sex. For men, sex is their way of showing like that love and connection. So it comes from very different places, and they really long that for us to show our desire for them is a way of them feeling loved. Yeah. And I think that's really important to know. When I grasp that about my husband, it gives me a whole different perspective about what he is longing for, what he needs, and how I need to, maybe it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm wanting to have sex, but it means that I'm more conscious about touching more and holding hands and kissing more and being more intentional and showing affection in general.
Absolutely. And I do want to pause for a moment and say we've kind of turned this conversation to men and women specifically. However, that is not the only relationships that are out
Absolutely
there. Of
not.
course, there's different dynamics regardless
Yes.
of sex. I mean, like female, male sex.
Yes.
So yeah, is there anything we can say to that? Because I don't want this to be completely one-sided.
No, and it's when we're talking about the couples themselves, we've been talking about men and women, but it is just in general important to know that about your own gender, and knowing if you're in a same-sex relationship, odds of you even having different levels there are very high. The odds of one being higher than the other or lower than the other, and having challenges in the bedroom are, just a natural part of being in any relationship. And I think that's just something in general for us to really pay attention to and notice and know about ourselves. And really, it kind of comes down to, for me, just learning about myself as much as I can, and being, like we talked about before, really learning to accept that about me and loving that part about myself, and not judging myself all the time about it.
Yes. So, okay. So I want to talk now about what do we do about it?
Mm-hmm.
As a woman, and I'm seeing, okay, he's got his needs, I've got my own needs. Maybe they're a little different, but we both love and care about each other. We want each other's needs to be met while also respecting our own.
Yes.
That seems pretty complicated. And when we talk about relationships, they're just complicated in general. But this seems complicated. Can you help clear that up?
It's incredibly complicated. And as I said, I've been married so long, and this has been at the forefront of our relationship forever. So it is very difficult. And one of the things it comes down to, I think, first and foremost, as you were talking about, is the importance of communicating. Communication about sex it's vital. And I know it's really difficult, because sex can feel talking about it can feel very awkward. It can feel very embarrassing. We each carry our own sexual history into relationships. So it's really difficult to do. But being able to talk about it is so important. And the more and more and more and more you could talk about it, the less awkward it becomes, the deeper you can go, and the more you can learn about each other. So I think creating opportunities to talk about it, and I don't necessarily mean in the heat of the moment. I don't think that's the ideal time to talk about it. But like what my husband and I will do is we on date nights, we will take sexy questions with us, these conversation starters, and we ask each other fun questions. And it really opens the doors for us to learn more about each other and have fun with it. And so I think just creating opportunities like that, first and foremost, is one of the most important things you can do.
I'm so glad you brought up the questions, the fun kind of game type of things. And I know you're a big proponent of sexual games.
Yes.
But that just reminded me something I question for you. I think we're going to get a lot of questions, Tammy, about this. I think we're going to have you back.
Okay.
Because
I would love that.
Yes. Okay. So one question that I have when it comes to that is some of those cards, because we've gotten those games before, we'll kind of talk about what you've done in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess does it depend on the person about how much that's appropriate to talk about? Do we have a responsibility to talk about that and share that, or can that be ours when you're looking at growing your relationship and wanting to share with the other person? But can't we have things that are just ours as well? Where's the line there?
Wow, I think that's a very interesting question. And it's honestly not something I personally have had to even go through. My husband and I are high school sweethearts.
So cool.
We're each other's first and only forever. So our situations are very different than so many other challenges that couples face. But I think really what it comes down to is, I would say, paying attention to what you're telling yourself. If it's something I think that feels like secretive and something that I think it's important to question why you're holding that so tight to yourself. I think, of course, there's things that you can keep to yourself and you can judge what that's going to be. I don't know, what that is for everybody. And I know everybody comes from very different backgrounds and carry a lot of things and traumas and things like that they want to hold true to them. And I think that that's okay. However, I do think that it is very important to be as open as you can possibly be, because if you want to improve your sex life, vulnerability and transparency is absolute key. So maybe it takes a long time to kind of get to those places where you feel comfortable talking about those things. And I think the idea is eventually, hopefully, you will feel comfortable talking about those things. But that could take a really long time, and I think that that's okay. But in the meantime, start working on some of the things. And if there are questions that you just, so like what my husband and I will do is we just, we'll pull up like apps on our phones, and we just kind of scan through and find ones for for ourselves that we think, I like this question, I'm going to answer this one or ask this one. So just pick the ones that feel comfortable for where you're at in your relationship now. And then as you go, maybe you feel more comfortable to share a little bit more and a little bit more. And we ask the same questions over and over and over through the years, and our answers are different. And we learn more. We still, after all this time, we still learn new things about each other. So I think just keeping an open mind and not necessarily shutting it so tight that you're not open to the idea of maybe someday sharing, and just being honest and true to what you want and what you need.
Yes, that makes a lot of sense. And you guys listening, Tammy and her husband are like the most amazing couple. I mean, you are my idol. When was it that you did the little skit? The Corona
Yeah,
skit,
we
right?
did that during quarantine. We did a music video.
It was so good. I mean, we might have to post that. Where did you put that? Where did that go?
Oh, I have it on YouTube. I could share it with you.
Okay, can we post the link to that?
Of course. A silly parody.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Oh,
Thank you. Fantastic.
Thank you.
Okay, another question.
Yeah.
Oh no, this is going to turn into just Ella ask Tammy. Okay, so I guess it also depends though. What about people that aren't in necessarily the healthiest relationship? They have partners that are judgmental. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's a really loaded question. That's a big question. Mm-hmm. But it takes two, right? To be open and to be generous about not judging.
Absolutely.
And so, I mean, some people might not be in a relationship that's a safe thing to do, unfortunately.
Yes, absolutely. And I do get comments like that a lot. And those, I mean, clearly, if you're going to have a happy, successful marriage, a happy, successful relationship, it has to be a two-way street. It's never going to reach the point where you want it to be if you can't, if it doesn't go both ways. And that's just a sad, I think, truth that there is. So I think that if it is to the point where words are harmful, or you are just in really a not healthy space, then I think it's always important to reach out to outside help, to even if it's just for yourself. If you can't get your partner to do that, then I always encourage people, always focus on yourself. If that's all you can do, focus on yourself, focus on your own growth, focus on how you communicate, focus on things that you can do to improve your relationship. Is it going to reach the level that you always hoped for? I don't know, because I think it is a two-way street, but I always think that it's so important to just look inside and do the work there first. And we talk about that a lot within the coaching academy. That internal work is just the most important work that you can do in order to create the life that you want to have.
1,000%. Okay, so I don't want to leave it on the sad note. Let's wrap it up. Can you give us a tip or two? And also, I want to know what games that you would recommend in terms of like the sex and relationship games.
Okay, well, if we're going to talk about one of the best ways, I think, or one of the fun ways to increase desire, is to be more playful in the bedroom, to not take it all so seriously. And I know it is a serious topic, but to kind of loosen up and have some fun. And that's one of the things that my husband and I really like to do is we just do a variety of games on date night. I'll tell you the game that we just did recently because it was really fun, and we weren't trying to have an outcome in any way. This was strictly just to connect and have a good sexy time together. But what we did is we each went to the store, and we went to opposite sides of the grocery store, and we each bought 10 things, 10 items for tasting. So we hid them from each other. We checked out in different aisles so that we couldn't, no peeking. We got home and we, told the kids, okay, you got to go to bed. We lit candles and we put on music, and then we took turns blindfolding each other, and we would feed each other whatever we had gotten. And the idea was to guess what we had, found for each other. And it was so much fun. It was super sexy. We just had the best time. It just was fantastic. It was not something we'd ever done before, but it was so fun.
I love that. Where did you get that? Where did you find that idea? Did you create that?
No, you know what? We were looking for date night ideas. I was like, okay, you come up with a game, try to figure something out. And so what we did is we researched a bajillion ideas, and then we combined a whole bunch of them together to create this one. So I guess kind of, but I think that just doing things like that, it just really loosens it up. And it wound up being very sexy. You think that, just eating something, it's not, but once you don't have once you have that visual sense cut off, suddenly everything is heightened. And it was so fun. So I recommend that one.
Okay, we're going to finish on that one.
Okay.
Before we do hold on.
Hearing beeping.
I don't care if you could hear that while we did it, but okay. Okay, we're gonna end on that one because I am down for that one. That one sounds so much fun.
It was, and one of the funnest part was going to the store because we're like being all sneaky about it. It was really fun.
I love it. We've got to learn to play more.
Yes.
I think that's.
I know
so
you
key.
always talk about that.
I do. One of the mantras that I carry into the Vegan Life Coach Academy is play life like a game.
Yes.
And I say that not because I am great at it, it's because I'm not as great at it as I want to be. So I say that all the time, and it really does help me. It helps me pause, take a deep breath, and realize that, what's the point of stressing about everything, of the anxiety. None of that does us any good. So playing life like a game, then bring it into the bedroom.
Absolutely.
Yes. Who's in, you guys? Who's in for this game? I want us to all go and play this game and then share about it in Vegan Life Coach Academy. Can we do that?
Yes, that'd be awesome.
Oh my gosh. We need to have we're going to have themes of different weeks and months. We need to have the sexy time theme where we post games and things like that.
Yes. I've got so many more ideas. Let's do it.
Oh my gosh. This is what I'm talking about. We are constantly, creating new avenues in everything that we do based on what you guys need. And so if this sounds fun to you, we're totally doing this. I cannot wait. Oh my gosh. Now I'm even more excited, Tammy. All right. Well, we are going to wrap it up there. You guys, thank you so much for joining us. If you are liking what you're hearing, leave us a review. Take 30 seconds. We would really appreciate it. Tammy, thank you once again for being here with us today and for being part of Vegan Life Coach Academy. And
thank you. Thank you so much. I had such a blast.
Awesome. All right. Bye, you guys. Until next time.